What's going on, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX podcast. We are here in studio. I've got Damien and Juliana who are helping me out. We are so excited to be interviewing a really cool couple that I was able to recently connect with in Las Vegas, actually. I here am in California and they are actually from Michigan. And so I'm excited to welcome to the show Kate and Nick Storey. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, so glad to be here, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice meeting you in Vegas as well.
Oh, I'm excited that I get to interview both of you. I initially thought that it was just going to be Kate, and obviously we met, both of you out in Las Vegas. So this is a real treat, and I appreciate you both making the time to come on the show today.
Yeah, we're a good tag team.
We're a good tag team together. With Kate's really great, with the camera and everything. So we kind of put her forward, she's cuter and all. But I'm happy to come on. I'm kind of more on the back end with all the marketing and everything. So
yeah.
I love it. Well, we're going to be tag teaming today because I want to talk about sales and marketing. And I think that's such an important topic. I know that for our venue business, for our venue management business, if our marketing is not good, if we're not able to bring those leads in, we're not able to convert them to sales, really everything kind of starts slowing down and people start calling and getting upset. And there's, the whole machine really starts grinding to a halt. And so we are going to be focusing on that, but I am curious about your origin story. How did you get started in this industry? And tell us, what is bookmorebrides.com?
Yes.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. We both looked at each other. So Bookmore Brides actually has been around for over 10 years. We actually started off as students of the original founders, and what we had an opportunity to meet up with them and start working with them. Yeah, exactly. With the digital marketing side, that's my background, which I'll share a little bit about in a minute. And they were looking to move on to some new opportunities. So one thing kind of led to another, and now we ended up taking over the business, and we are now taking it with all of the great stuff that it started with that foundation in marketing and sales, but now adding in a really strong digital and online component, because we know that, as we've seen over the last couple of years, right, if you do not have an online presence, you're in a lot of trouble, right? So that is what we have been focusing on with our students and our clients that we've been working with, helping them get a really strong presence with their wedding business online.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And not just an online presence. It seems like you guys do a really good job actually having a great online presence, right? Like we were just talking before we started about some of the chat bots that you have. And it seems like you're really a practitioner of what you're teaching as well, which is really, really exciting to see.
For sure, because it just works. I mean, you have to have all the pieces together to make it work. And that's where a lot of people don't know, what pieces you have to have. So many people are so close to it, but don't quite connect all the dots. So that's what we love doing, problem solving.
Absolutely. And then Nick, what is your background as far as coming to this industry? And it sounds like, so did you purchase the existing Bookmore Brides business from someone else? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so we were students for many years, wonderful. That we came on to help them with digital marketing and take their business to another level. And they, as they moved on, they asked us to basically they want another husband and wife team to take over, and we were honored with it. And we've taken it in a whole bunch of new directions as well since we've taken over. So that's where we're going. I myself am a passionate kind of teacher. I love problem solving and working with people. I love geeking out on technology, but really sales and marketing is kind of my thing. And she's an expert with copyright and all that. So between us, we really help people not just do one thing, but be able to connect all the dots, because I can't do what she does, but can't do what I do. So we help everybody make sure they can do what they need to do. So
that's awesome. That's such a powerful combination. I know even just before we started, I was talking to Damien, working with my wife. She's more of an integrator. She's more, process driven. She's really able to keep me and some of the other members of the team accountable and really great with the details.
I get it.
Yeah. Yep. And you've got to have those people in your life. So that is so cool. I love it. Well, let's jump right in because this topic is so big. We could take it in a million different directions, but let's start kind of top of the funnel. Let's talk about marketing. I'd love to ask you, when you work with your clients, your students, even some of the resources that you provide, what are some common mistakes, kind of top of the funnel, general mistakes that you see most people making that can be easily fixed?
Okay, that's kind of where we start. You want to talk about the cracking the booking
Yeah.
code?
So what we teach at Bookmore Brides, we have a process called cracking the booking code. And it's really a 3-part process that everything kind of falls under because there's so much you can do with sales and marketing, right? It's especially if it's not something you went into business for, which most wedding business owners didn't. Right, exactly. You went into your business because you were passionate about photography or, venue in creating a space for couples to begin this new chapter of their lives, right? There's all these other bigger reasons, but you have to have sales and marketing right in order to have a business. So what we teach is our cracking the booking code process, which is first, you have to bring them in the right way. Secondly, you need to make sure that when you bring them in, they like what they see. And then the third part is making sure that once you've got them in, they like what they see, they're kind of, intrigued, interested, right. Making sure that you close them in the right way. So, and there's a lot of things that fall under that, but that's kind of where it all starts. And that's when people come to us and are wondering, like, what do I do next? Yes, that's where we start, is by examining.
And then from there, we got the whole roadmap we do, but if you bring in leads, but they don't like what they see, they're probably not going to book with you. So, or if you bring them in, so many people have leads, but they don't follow up with them. So somewhere in there, everybody, unfortunately, is a little bit different. So that's where the customization part comes in, kind of figuring out what's wrong with you. So your question was,
what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with your business? But your question was, what are some things that they usually, what was the question?
Well, some mistakes you see people commonly making. And I think, Kate, what you were saying really perfectly relates to that. But a clarifying question about your 3-step process here. Yeah. Is it the way, so you mentioned bringing them in the right way. Are we talking like calling you versus texting you versus emailing you? Is that what you're talking about way?
A bit of both. So usually finding out the right type of couples for you and making sure you're actually bringing them in. So many people, a good portion of people have a wonderful website. I mean, it needs work on, stuff like that, but they have nobody coming in the door.
Well, it's the billboard in the woods thing.
Yeah. We teach that you can have a beautiful website, or a billboard, but if you put it in the woods, no one's seeing it but the deer. You got to put it by the highway so that people can kind of see it. And sometimes it's that simple. So I would say a lot of times people are afraid to put themselves out there enough and to get in front of the couples enough because they're spending a lot of time working on things that aren't
tweaking their website.
Yeah, I can tell you, if you get 5 sales all of a sudden, you're going to get your website done, you're going to get sales, everything all of a sudden gets done. I think Henry Ford said nothing happens until you make a sale. So when you get that happening, now all of a sudden you're like, wow, I really should invest in my website. I really should invest in things. And I think the biggest problem is people don't know what they don't know. So there's usually some kind of, they're working on one thing, but they're not working on everything. So
It's knowing what to do next, really. It's knowing okay, here's where I'm at. And that's why you really need to connect with somebody who kind of has a set of fresh eyes and can see things, because sometimes we're just too close to our own business, right? And we can feel like something's working really well, or a lot of times actually people come to us, they're like, nothing's working, nothing is, it's all a mess. And we're like, well, actually, you've got some great traffic here, but what's happening there? Why isn't it translating into sales? It's really kind of examining it and seeing, looking at it almost like a doctor, okay, this is working, but this isn't. Okay, how can we make these work together? So,
right.
It sounds like, from what I'm hearing, there may be 3 scenarios. There might be that you've got this great billboard. I'm going to use your analogy here. I love that. You've got this great billboard, but it's in the woods, so no one's seeing it. Or you have great highway placement, but no billboard or nothing to speak of that's very interesting. Right. Or maybe you don't have placement or a billboard.
Right.
And you have a roadside, like a little A-frame, and it's somewhere in the middle and not really.
And people tend to stop by if they break down, I love this.
Seriously. And everybody wants the leads in. They just want people. But I guess one good place to start is making sure your billboard or your website and what they see is correct. Because you can bring in a high-end bride or any kind of bride or couple, and then all of a sudden, if they don't like what they see, they're probably not going to invest their time and money with you. So a lot of times we want to just bring in a whole bunch of leads, but if you can't close them, you're just paying for leads for no reason, or you're just doing a lot of work. So I would say one thing is to make sure you have that component really dialed in.
I have a really direct question that I'm dying to ask.
Yeah. What
is the place that paid advertising plays in driving traffic versus organic? Because I think, and this is something I'm personally struggling with right now, And I think a lot of industry people think about this. It's like, am I dancing on TikTok? Am I on Reels? Am I on Pinterest? Am I paying for ads? Am I hiring somebody? Am I learning Facebook ads? Right? Like there's so much out there. So what do you see as the role? Is that kind of like a silver bullet in your experience, or?
So So it's a matter of really understanding and knowing. And this is something that we actually do, like a training. A training, our Booked and Busy training that we offer every now and then, is to talk about the fast versus the slow methods of marketing and traffic. Okay, so because fast methods are what are going to bring you in, quick leads. Get in front of leads. So that's going to be paid ads. That's going to be Google, ads. It's going to be
all the different sites. I mean, we just did a whole training on this on Monday about like using Thumbtack or different places, and you have to find out what's right for you.
Yes.
Now, the slow method is doing all the things that you need to do over time, like SEO, you dancing on Reels, whatever that gets you away from paying Mark Zuckerberg or different people like for their ads and everything. But it has to be right for you. Most people don't like ads because they don't know how to do it. And everybody's tried spending $50 on it. And it's like, this doesn't work for me. But we do know it works for a lot of people.
Yes.
It's like a workout. It may or may not work for you, but you got to find the right one for you. And you make the transformation that way. So
exactly.
The question was, is it a silver bullet? It definitely can be. But is it always as effective? I mean, sometimes it takes a little more work than other. Now, I can tell you, though, that if you bring in a bunch of leads and you got a junky looking landing page or site, they're going to say, wow, do I want to invest 5K with you or 10K on my big day if you won't invest it on yourself? That's probably not a good place to start. So if you've tried leads and not had all those components, we say it's like having a car with 3 wheels. Like you really need to have all 4 wheels together, from ads to like what they see to then be able to respond. I can't tell you how many people we've done ads for that I got to coach them like, hey, you need to respond to this lead like within 5 minutes, like quickly, or do some automation just to get in front of them because they reached out. They wanted to get on the phone with you or talk with you, So,
what do you feel the platforms, commonly known platforms like Wedding Wire, The Knot? I mean, here comes The Guide. We've got Wedding Spot, Zola. I know there's Bark. All these different places that you can get, and you pay to be on these sites.
Yeah.
For sure.
What's your take on some of these? Are they effective? Are they not effective?
Well, it all depends on where they're going, because we find this is most frequently where things start to go awry with ads and everything, because a lot of times you can put a lot of time and energy and effort into having a really great ad. You could even, pay somebody to help you with that ad and everything. But the thing is, if they click through, and like Nick was saying, if your landing page or your website is not giving them a whole lot of confidence that you are a professional and are going to be able to give them the experience that they want, or secondly, that it's not giving them the information that they need at the stage they're at. And this is also something we teach on the buy now versus the buy later couples. You have to know which ones you're speaking to and how to speak to them correctly in order to make those ads effective. So we find a lot of times if you've got a great ad and you're like, I got a bunch of click-throughs, what's going on? How come I'm not getting any sales from this? How come it's not working for me? More often than not, it's because it's that second step in cracking the booking code, which is they got there and they didn't like what they saw. Now, that could mean either the look of the website itself, it's either not looking super professional or it's looking a little outdated. But more often than not, it's the writing. It is the information on it.
And that includes the writing on your Wedding Wire description, on the different things. It's not just your website. It's like where they're coming from. Now, from talking tons of people, it's like the Wedding Wire Knot works great for a lot of people. And then a lot of people are like, oh, it's not working for me at all. And Thumbtack, one thing I can tell for your viewers is if you haven't tried something in a long time, maybe try it again. So some like Thumbtack and all these Bark, everything's changed a lot over the last few years. So if you tried it like 4 years ago, you might want to try a couple bucks at it. I mean, Wedding Wire and Knot's a little bit more of an investment for a year, but like Bark, we were just talking to some of our wedding planners who she's filled up her calendar. She's on Thumbtack. She's got a lot of leads this year. She's down in Texas area. Bark, which is from the UK, but it works great here. Some of the top ones I'm hearing. I mean, of course, Wedding Wire is a whole different thing to work with, but a lot of great platforms. that I don't want people to shy away, because you can kind of launch your business by making 4 or 5 quick sales, and then you can kind of, because it's going to take you a while to get the SEO and all that slow traffic coming. So it really depends on where you are. We actually have a whole breakdown of phase 1, 2, and 3 of where people are on their business, whether they're just starting out or whether they're kind of in that getting organized phase and like really working on this, to like our 6-figure pros who are really like looking for like solid email chains and really great follow up and like making that website sing, and they've got like 10K of traffic. So how do I catch more? So everybody's kind of a different phase, but everybody should try things probably anew. Things have changed just in the last couple of years a lot.
Yeah.
So
if we are, let's assume that someone who's listening right now, or maybe watching online on YouTube, is hearing all this and they're like, great, but I just started my business.
Yeah.
I just started my business. Maybe I created my Instagram, right? Because you got to grab the username.
Yep.
You maybe even have a website. You bought it with GoDaddy. You're on Squarespace or even the GoDaddy Builder, whatever. You're just trying to kind of like get it going, right?
Sure.
What are some marketing things, maybe even free things, that you feel like make the most difference early on? Like maybe an order of operations. Give me maybe your top 2 or 3 that really can get people started quickly.
Yeah. Well, this is so funny because like we were just talking about, like, you know, we're planning ahead for the coming year and everything like that. And that's one of the things we're going to be putting together actually a course on that, because we know so many people have been, you know, wanting to get into it, pursuing these passion projects and really going to it full time. So something like that is really important to know. But I would absolutely say it's getting in front of your ideal clients. But the first thing you need to know is, who is your ideal client, right? So it's important to grab all those things, right? It's important to get yourself set up online. But if you don't know who you're talking to, it's not going to give you a whole lot it's not going to help you a whole lot. It's not going to help your business to really take off. Because if you're talking to this person, but then you try something else over here, and then, you know, you have all of these different couples that you might be speaking to, people are going to be confused. And the more confused they are, the less likely they're going to be willing to invest with you. They have to know what kind of an experience they're going to get with you, and they have to feel confident that you're going to be able to deliver on it. So that's actually what I would recommend. First of all, is getting really super clear on who your perfect client is. Who is it that you want to work with? And I can give you an example of this with one of our students. We had a wedding planner named Lisa, and when she first came to us, she was saying, you know, this is the type of, you know, bride I want to work with. She's a, you know, career woman. She's got all these things, right? And we, okay, so I worked with her because that's kind of that's my superpower, right? Is helping to really help them get clear on who their perfect client is, how to speak to them. So we really drilled down and everything, and she felt good on it. She's like, all right, she started running some Facebook ads. Well, she started getting the leads. And the next time I got on the phone with her, she was like, these brides are brats. I don't want to talk with them. Because she thought she had an idea of who she wanted, but she hadn't gotten clear, like, herself. Like, we had worked together, but she hadn't really taken the time and thought about it, like who it is that she wanted to work with. So we kind of started over, kind of scrapped it and said, okay, who do you want to work with? And she started talking about like her nieces that she loved. It was their personalities that she had helped to plan, you know, some of their weddings, their friends' weddings. And she was like, okay, they're this kind of couple. They like these sorts of things. And we got really super clear. We said, okay, we had everything set. She changed up her Facebook ad it was like late at night. By the next morning, she had 7 leads from brides who were her ideal couples, these ones we had just laid out. And then within a week, she had several calls booked. She had a couple of clients all set because she had finally gotten clear and she felt confident on who it was that she was speaking to and bringing in. And her business really started going from there.
Wow.
And sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, so clarity. It sounds like clarity on who you're talking to, not just like to talk.
Yes.
This is her superpower here.
Yes.
So this is like something she drastically like knows really well. I was talking to a venue today who's opening up in April, and she's concerned because she doesn't have any like a footprint yet. I mean, it's almost set. She's setting up kind of like a photo shoot and everything, but you need to really get the basis started sooner than later, like Google My Business going, get some of that local traffic on your website. But then we know a lot of people who fill up, and people hate them or not, but on the Facebook groups, that's a great cheap place to start because people are looking there. And there's broke couples everywhere. So it's not just the broke couples, but there's people everywhere with that. And then I would say before maybe, I don't want to say don't try it now, but dip your toe in the water with Thumbtack or some of these that are cheap, that are like $30 a lead rather than signing up for a full year. So those are a few actionable things. There's a whole bunch more that you can do to get some of the fast traffic coming in as well as the free traffic.
Nick, you've mentioned Thumbtack several times now, and I've had limited experience with Thumbtack. I think I know like conceptually what it is. Back when we had a staffing company for a while, we used them, I think a couple of times, but I am not really familiar, I for sure to the level that I know you are. And so for any of our viewers or listeners, can you just kind of go through what Thumbtack does?
And the reason is we just talked about it on Monday, so I'm kind of big on that. But for a while, Thumbtack was kind of lame. So that's what I was saying. Keep trying different ones. So Thumbtack is more of you pay per lead versus you get a subscription like with Wedding Wire, and then they come to you. So if there's a couple different ways to do it, but basically you put it up there and people can contact you or you can contact them, but you pay for the actual lead you get. So you're hoping that out of 10, maybe you're closing 30% or 70% of them. So it depends on your business with that. So that's what Thumbtack in a nutshell is, a cheaper per lead thing, as long as you can close them. So
absolutely. And is this better or more effective in your experience for one category or several different categories of vendors? Or is this kind of something that would work across the board, whether you're a venue, a DJ?
Yeah, I would try it in your area. I know things are different in different places. I mean, people kind of like bark over here or there. I mean, things are getting a little more nationalized in Canada and stuff with everything we do. But I do know like in Texas, that's working really well. I want to say Illinois and some different places. So I would give it a try. I mean, if you can't spend $30 to $90 on a few leads, you might want to think about like where you're putting some of your money to get started, because everything happens with the sale. So I don't want you to throw away money, but I want you to like get them in the door. That's the first step, because so many people start so low on their prices. And I'm like, come on, inch them up. Like you got to get some, not street cred, but you kind of want to get a little bit of experience under your belt so that you can feel comfortable with just the sale process. I want you talking to a whole bunch of people so you can feel better about helping people the way they need. So
and really that goes back to the fast versus the slow methods. The other thing that we teach, the other side of that we teach with that, is the fact that you're going to end up paying something somewhere, right? With the fast methods, you're going to end up paying with money. But with the slow methods, you're going to have to invest time. And it's something where if you have that luxury of building up slowly and everything, then you might try some of those more organic methods. You might try to build up a name for yourself and a presence through Instagram, making sure that you're building up your local SEO, those kinds of participating in the Facebook groups, all those kinds of things. Those are the slow methods of bringing in traffic, because it's not consistent. It's not, it definitely takes an investment of time. But if you don't have time, if you need to get this off the ground like now, and you need to start bringing in those sales quickly, definitely making a small investment and then, like Nick said, start inching it up is going to make a big difference for you.
I want to challenge you guys. Like, some people will pay $3,000 more on an extra camera, or DJs on more equipment. It's like the guy who has a lawn company, buys a brand new truck, and doesn't have any clients yet. Like, you kind of want to like walk and chew gum at the same time. Let's maybe like spend a little bit on bring clients and pay for that new camera or something. It's just we kind of value what we value. So sometimes I'm saying try to value experimenting a little bit, learning what you need to learn so that you can bring some sales in, because it's exciting. Like once it gets going, everything changes. So,
I am really curious from your perspective. We're talking about all these different things, right? We're talking about Facebook ads, Google ads, Pinterest, Instagram, Thumbtack, like Wedding Wire, The Knot, all these things. And for a new business owner, they're maybe starting their business, or even someone who's revamping their old business, or maybe purchasing a business and rebranding. I was actually just talking with Megan Gillikin, and she was relaying to me her process of buying a business that she didn't know had a reputation that she had to kind of, right? So there's a lot of this stuff that's going on. How much of this marketing and sales do you think people should outsource? meaning hiring or, hiring like an employee or hiring a contractor or even hiring a coach that can help give them a blueprint. How much of this do you think should be outsourced, maybe even from the beginning?
Oh, that's a deep question.
That's an excellent question.
There's a lot of variables to that. Like, first of all, you have to find the right person. I can't tell you how many people have had a brand new website made by someone who's not in the wedding industry or doesn't have the idea that, wow, couples are a little more emotional than they are for plumbers. Like they can make a wonderful plumbing site, but like for ours, the language, the copywriting, all that needs to be a little bit written different than like grandma's got a broken pipe. So we kind of need to have, bringing up the emotions, letting them see that thing. So if you can afford to have a professional kind of help you, it is a little bit more of a silver bullet to get there, but that all has to be balanced with your budget.
Yes.
I don't want you not spending $100 and missing out on $1,000, so you need to look at your ROI with that. But some things you can or not.
Just a clarification point on that. Are you saying that you should hire somebody who is, depending on your budget, you might want to hire someone who's a little bit cheaper just to kind of get a presence? Or are you saying that people should kind of wait a little bit and spend the money that's needed, even though if it's a little bit uncomfortable, you're going to get that return, Well,
it's a little bit of both. So like in our coaching program, we've got like 50 students and they're all in like different areas, right? Yeah. So one person coming in, depending on the stage they're in, might want to do a Squarespace website, just a clean, effective one themselves, get it clean with the right pictures and like, usually we help with the copy at that point. That's kind of, it's like the copy is what is the engine of the Mustang, where the outside of it's kind of the outside. But you still need the engine to keep going. So we're believing in the copy side of it. But then we have other people who are making $10K per wedding. They're making $100,000, but they don't want to spend $3K on a website redesign. Like if you're having a BMW dealership, it needs to look like a good BMW dealership. Let's put our best foot forward. So that's where it does matter. I would like to see people get started and going sooner than later. But like Tammy, for instance, she had kind of an ugly website. It was half done, by themselves. And to be honest, a pro.
Tammy, we apologize. We're not. We just threw Tammy's website
she's a friend. I think we can.
She loves
bless her heart.
But she's got to the other step now. Her website looks awesome. She's got the language right.
Crazy.
And now she's paying for Facebook ads, and we're helping her with all this stuff. And all of it didn't happen at the beginning, but it happened pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think that's why it helps to be able to talk with somebody and get some sort of an analysis and be able to get somebody to look at it with that kind of unbiased eye of, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is what your couples are seeing, and this may be where, things are kind of either going off the rails or you've got a good start here, now it's time to expand on this. Where we feel, the investments make the most sense is one, getting that kind of clarity, just like you were saying, getting that clarity on your business in terms of where you need to go, how you need to get there, who you need to be speaking to. Getting that clarity is going to make a big difference for you because then you can decide where you're going to invest, where it makes the most sense. Because otherwise, it's like, groping around in the dark trying to figure out, it's like, is this the right way? Is this the right way? It's hard to know, especially if you're new in the business. I
would invest something in getting some help and clarity, like Kate's saying, because what if you had a plan that was a little more tailored for you that said in your situation, you can do this, this, and this, and wow. Like I know when I'm talking to people on the phone, like I can definitely help you with this, and they can choose to help us or not, and if not, there's other things, but like that clarity can really help catapult you if it's right. It's just people come to us because they don't know what to do next. And that's the problem of all business owners is where do I invest next? What do I do next?
And that can inform your next steps.
But there is a path. Everybody has gone before you already.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like it's kind of scary, when you're starting out or maybe even when you're thinking about investing in coaching or whether it's a course, a mastermind, just working with someone one-on-one, like the investment, whether it's $500, $1,000, $3,000, $10,000, like whatever the number value is there, it feels scary because it's like, are these people going to really be able to give me what I need?
And can I tell you, hold on.
They're scared of losing. Yeah.
Well, listen to that statement though. Flip that. This is exactly what your clients are saying when they look at you.
Yeah.
your clients are saying the exact same thing. They're looking at your website and they're looking at their options and everything and saying, is this going to be worth my thousands of dollars for this one big day of my life and everything like that? So it's the same thing. It's like, first, you're not alone in that. But secondly, it's understanding that when you make smart investments that are going to give confidence, that are going to give clarity, that's going to help them to make the right decision, whether it's you or your client, that's what makes all the difference, is knowing what to do next.
I love that. I'm just writing that down because I want to clip that for later on. I think that's so important that people are realizing, like, they're making maybe a one-time investment, or if it's a payment plan, it might be a couple different payments of an investment in a chunk in their business, but that's going to have this ripple down effect, that trickle effect that maybe you save yourself a bunch of pain, headache, and a longer learning cycle rather than something. Because like you said, Nick, people have gone before you. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never lost by investing in myself in education and other things. Me, I've always gotten some kind of nugget out of it. And I don't know if you have as well, but I think most successful people have learned from others. It's classic teaching and modeling. So whether it's free or paid, it just depends how fast you want the results.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love about, honestly, what we're doing here, but then also the podcast that you guys have. I think that, Bookmore Brides podcast, I think your education content, like what you're doing, what you're providing to the industry is really, really important. I want to pivot a little bit. We've been talking a lot about marketing and kind of the top of the funnel things that we're getting the clients in. You've referred to it a couple of times, but once they're there, once you've kind of like got this lead and maybe they're starting to talk with you, emailing, let's assume, Nick, that you, like you said, you emailed them back, right? And
that you responded. Yeah,
exactly. And so you've got a conversation going. Why are people not booking the events that they want to, or the services that they want to?
Put it this way, say you're bringing them in the right way, the right couples, the right thing. They see something that says, I want to learn more about it. Then they get to wherever they're going and they're going to check out your website for your venue or whatnot.
100%.
They're going to say, wow, this is pretty good. They've answered a lot of my questions, not all of them, because I want them to get on a call with you. They're able to connect with you easy. I had to tell someone today, put a contact button up in the thing. It's like
right-hand corner.
Make it easy for your clients to connect with you. But they connected with you. You have to understand they're already like more than halfway there. They're ready to book with you. Your job is not to mess it up, right? And a lot of time, I got to say, for my sales, we'll watch recordings. People will record Zooms and then we'll help them out. But people are talking too much. Like, they're not asking enough questions to the couple. They're not getting the couple to imagine themselves in the place. What do you like about this? They'll hear things like, well, someone else was cheaper. Well, why didn't you go with them? What made you kind of come with us? Like, not in a jerk way, but like, not
genuine
knowing
curiosity.
all the responses.
Yeah.
And being there to help them in a way that's not like you're not shoving every information down their throat so that they can close it. Like, a lot of times we're messing it up when we kind of just need to stop talking and let them kind of sell themselves into it. Pricing is always a thing. There's always objections. There's a lot of ways to handle it that most of us haven't learned yet, but this is not new. Other people have handled this before as well.
Yeah.
So.
Selling and negotiating, I definitely think something here in Western culture that we aren't as comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you, not Dan Kennedy, Tim Ferriss, in his book, he talks about, negotiating, trying to negotiate everything. And like, how often do we think that prices are negotiable? In this industry, people, I think, definitely feel like they are more. They're going to be asking about discounts. They're going to be asking, things like that. So not overselling, talking a lot.
People want to drop the price all the time. We don't want you on that like race to the bottom. Mm-hmm. With everybody else, there's cheap people out there. So you think, I got to lower the price. No, you have to increase your value to make sure people understand that value, because it's not having the clarity is usually one of the biggest issues. If they're clear, you just got to get them in the door and seal the deal, because they're part way there.
It's being able to help them understand the type of experience that they're going to get with you. And this is, again, why your website is so important. And I can't tell you how many people not necessarily with venues, but with other wedding professionals who don't even have a website because they think like, oh, if I just have an Instagram profile, that's enough. No, it's not. Please, if you do not have a website, get a website. Not only because you need both the fast and the slow traffic, like we talked about, you need to have that going in the background, but also because your couples are going to do their research, and that is how one of the biggest ways they're going to do their research is through your website. But when you are doing your website correctly with the right...
Pre-frame.
Yes, when you are doing the writing correctly, when you have the right images in place, when you are speaking to them in the right way, then the goal is to have your website be a selling tool for you. It should get your couples like 2/3 of the way there to where they have found what they need on the website. They feel like, wow, they can really get a sense of the kind of experience you're going to provide for them for their wedding. And they're like, this sounds like it's it. These guys really understand me. They know what I want. This is amazing. And the goal is to have your website do all that so that by the time they get to the call with you, they're already, like we said, 2/3 of the way sold. And now they just need to make sure, first, that you're in their price range, and secondly, that you have their date available. That is the goal of a good, well-written, and well-designed website.
Yeah.
I love that. That's powerful. Let's talk to those listeners right now who might be like, all right, Kate and Nick, that sounds great. I have this company, we're doing okay, but they kind of feel stuck. Maybe 2021 here is coming to a close. Everyone's been talking about being super busy, and maybe they've been busy, but they haven't really been that profitable. And they've been spinning their wheels. Maybe they're doing a lot of, they're taking care of a lot of business that they've already taken payments on maybe, and their business is just not continue to go and accelerate. And they're sitting here in December, when we're filming this, and, in the new year, when it gets released, they're sitting here in the first quarter going, I kind of feel a little stale.
Yeah.
So much.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
No, I was just going to say, where do people, how do people find out why it's like that?
Yeah.
And how do they get out of that state and start kind of getting that momentum again that maybe they had very early on?
So many of our clients or students who are like in the right positioning, we're really booked and busy like crazy, right? And when you get booked and busy, sometimes you don't keep marketing. And then all of a sudden you find yourself on the other hump, and you have Kate talks about like a 90-day cycle. You have to what you're doing today, you'll
feel the impact of that 90 days from now. Yep.
So, there's no way but to get started again and maybe just kind of refresh yourself and do some things, because there's probably also a lot of leads you didn't follow up with. We teach a lot about the buy now and buy later couples. So many people they didn't show up for the tour. Forget them. They must not have liked me. Well, that's not true. A little automated message going out, say a couple of days or a week later. I just got one back today saying hey, we missed you, basically still interested, etc. And people say, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. One guy today said, I'm so sorry. I'd like to meet with my partner. And what else he say? He's asking, can you meet with us? Because they feel bad that they ditched you on your tour. And we're like, oh, bless your soul that you'll maybe sit there forever. But there's probably some things in there that you might feel stale, but there's little things that you can do to kind of get that going again while you're working on your marketing and all that,
Yeah, it's really understanding that 90-day cycle, and understanding also, I think, a big area too is like Nick said, you kind of forget about marketing, because you get so busy serving, right? And so it's kind of going back to the basics. It's okay, going back to that cracking the booking code, okay, am I bringing them in the right way? Are my external ways of bringing them in, so social media channels, am I posting on there frequently enough that they know, one, that we're still in business, right? Because sadly a lot of wedding pros went out of business over the last couple of years because of everything that shifted around. So are you on there enough that they know you're in business? Are you being responsive to their messages? Do you have ads going? Are you trying some things like that to bring people in? Yeah, trying something new, I think, is probably the first place to start. But then again, think about when they come in from those locations. Are they seeing what they need to see? And again, thinking about where are they at in their journey, okay? This is why we talk about the buy now and the buy later couples. The buy now couples are the ones who they're like, oh my gosh, I needed to make a decision on this area of my wedding like yesterday. Like we got to make a call on this. It's coming up soon. You know, as soon as I get on a call with them, and if everything sounds good, their website looks amazing, you know, it's like, yeah, and that's what we all want as wedding pros, right? We want people that are going to come to us like salivating, ready to sign the contract and hand over their deposit. But the thing is, that is only about 3% of your local market at any given time, okay? But the other, you know, 4 to about 12 to 15% of your local market are people that are engaged. They're looking for what you have to offer.
They reached out, you know?
Yeah, but they're not ready to buy yet either. I mean, and that's for a lot of different reasons. It could be because they don't have the cash right now. You know, maybe they're figuring out their budget. 2, they just got engaged. This is what's going to happen right now for everybody that's listening, even in the beginning of the new year. You're going to get a bunch of calls from couples who they just got that ring on their finger, right? And they're super excited, but they may not be ready to make a decision right now. So you need to make sure you have a plan in place to continue to follow up with them, because they want what you have to offer, but they're not ready to make the decision. And if we don't continue to follow up with them and we just let them slip through our fingers, well, we're letting a whole big chunk of our business opportunities go down the drain.
Wedding venues have a shorter frame, like a 45-day window for a lot of those hot, you know, buy now couples, because, you know, they have to accept the date there so they can do everything else. Whereas a videographer, oh my goodness, they have a long 8-month cycle, 4-month cycle, so you have to keep following. But there's still tons of people in there who are looking at you now, but they're not really getting married for like 2 years from now. So you want to fill up your pipeline 2 years from now with that person, so that 2 years from now, you're not starting like, oh, where am I at? Like, you have to do something now that's going to save you in the future. And also with our students, we always have to say, and every entrepreneur, that one of our biggest enemies is the what's next. You know, what's next? Like you do sports, you do the fundamentals, and you learn the fundamentals. You lift weights, you got to do a certain way every time in a certain process. That's what gets us to our millions, not trying like, you know, the shake weight or some weird new stuff. Like, you got to be able to like be careful not to always be looking for something bright and shiny and new, because everybody like says, oh, I tried Facebook ads once. What's next? Like, maybe let's refine that, you know?
Absolutely. I love that you spent some time talking about the book now brides versus the book later couples, obviously. And that's interesting, because I think as wedding professionals and just the industry we're in, and that a lot of these people are like owner operators, we're great with dealing with the book now people, because it's like, all right, great. We're ready to do the deal. We want to get on the phone with somebody who wants to, you know, put a deposit down, and we want to do that, but we may not be as great with those booking later people. I had a question about that though. Do you feel like COVID has impacted people's life cycles? Like maybe they're getting started looking earlier.
Yes.
And they're kind of pushing out they're not as attached to we need to get married in 12 months so that we're going to do, and I must have this date. They're kind of like, we could have this date, or this date. I'm figuring it out because I don't want to be railroaded again, maybe.
It's been a bit of both. So like, I mean, of course, the uncertainty has hurt a lot of sales, and people are like, I'm not sure about this. And especially in the beginning, but there's also people who are like, I'm sick of waiting so long. I just need to do it now. And there's kind of like, you better schedule it now, because some places are booking right out, you know, we have a lot of places that are full, you know, they're doing midday, you know, midweek, weddings and everything. So it's like, it has changed things, but oh well, you kind of have to kind of keep going with it. And especially if you're not going to get all those buy now decision people, if you're not helping them make that decision, or if they're not ready right then, you kind of just lost them to the next person they find on Google when they're like ready today. You want to be in front of them so that like, oh, the fates aligned. Oh, wow, they reached out to me today, and like, you know, I should go with those guys, because psychologically we go with the primacy effect. We go with the people that we know. We go with the brands we know. And if you're not in front of them right then, they might choose someone else. So let's just increase your odds a bit. And it's kind of that easy. It's kind of
yeah.
crazy.
Well, and again, it's a big area of our business
topics.
that these this is an area where a lot of wedding business owners are really, they're missing a big chunk of their business. And a lot of times if they're like, oh no, where are all of my leads? Well, a lot of times it's because they have not been serving those buy later couples. So that is a very important thing that now in this kind of still in COVID era is making sure that we have a very strong buy later process in place, making sure that you have follow-up sequences in place, that you have text reminders, that you have a way of staying in front of these couples, because their dates may be fluid. They're they may not, like you said, be so tied to a specific time frame. So we have to stay in front of them, or like Nick said, we're going to lose them to the next competitor if we don't stay in front of them, because they're so overwhelmed with information and options. They're not likely to, remember that one time that they looked you up online and thought, oh, that was a really great place.
They might be like, that was a great place, but I don't remember their name.
I remember their name, right? Exactly. So we need to make sure that we are staying in front of them until, and if I can just throw this in here too, people also think that if they continue to follow up with them more than like a handful of times, like 3 to 5 or 7 times, they think that they're bugging people. And they're like, well, I don't want to be that wedding vendor, right? I don't want to be that wedding pro that is, so annoying and, is just constantly bugging them to get in touch. Now, yes, don't be annoying. Don't bug them. But we are all for being professionally persistent.
That's what we teach
okay? We teach them to be professionally persistent, which means you stay in front of them on a regular basis, not being constantly pushy, but having a process that you're staying in front of them until they tell you one of 3 things. That 1, they're no longer interested. 2, they've already booked somebody else. Or 3, yes, I want to have a conversation. Let's talk.
I can't tell you how many students just like this week or whatever have really, like, after a year's time, they've really really appreciated that part, being able to be less touchy, less, worried about bugging them, and staying in front of them. Because, like, you don't buy a house like, hey, Kate, let's go buy a house today, and just that one, that's it, boom.
That's the
like,
one.
You check it out. If you have a broken pipe, you're going to find someone right away and, like, fix the leak, but, you're going to check out places. Like, that's just human dynamics.
Especially for that type of an investment. I think that's something else that we forget about as wedding professionals, like we talked about earlier, is our couples are making a huge investment for it's not only a financial investment, it's an emotional investment. This is their one big day, right? Like they need to feel like they're getting this right. And just because we as business owners are like, oh my gosh, I got bills I got to pay, I've got to make some sales, right? That doesn't mean that our couples are ready. So we need to make sure that we are serving the ones that are ready to make a decision now, but we're also giving an opportunity to stay in front of the ones who are interested but not ready to buy now.
We like the holistic approach.
Yeah.
So. As far as practical applications of this, because this is incredible, and I think a lot of people are going to get tons of value from this. So thank you. But practically, what should people be doing? I mean, is this posting more frequently? You mentioned a text sequence. Are there some platforms for text sequences that, that are really good and worth checking out? Is it email? Are we talking about email marketing? I'm not necessarily saying there's a silver bullet, and I know there's probably options for everyone, but in your experience with the wedding pros that you serve, are there tools and resources or avenues to do this concept that you're talking about that are really very effective?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of professionals like us that own, coaching programs that would love to help you out in a way, help you find clarity. We also have our own systems, our own CRM, booking systems and stuff, but get something and get started with it. I mean, that's kind of what you need to get going.
Yeah. And I'm a big advocate. We're both really big advocates of making sure that you're not building on borrowed land. That you are not, because, and this is why I said earlier, if you don't have a website, if you are building your business on Instagram or, through a Facebook group or something like that, and you're not having an email sequence, I'm being very specific, an email sequence, that is what you need, because the thing is, any other channel can be shut down or changed at any time. Okay. Now, Instagram is not likely to go away overnight. Okay. But they're constantly changing things that will suit them, not necessarily you. And I've been in digital marketing long enough that I had clients, way back in the day where when Facebook was saying, oh, every business needs to have a business page, right? You need to have a business page and be on there and posting, and they would bring people to it. And it used to be that, as a Facebook user, if you liked business pages, like you'd go on there and your feed was filled with them, right? It was like business page, it was like constant,
Right.
because they wanted to get people into this. And I'm not saying this like nefariously, it's just they're a business. We have to understand they were approaching this from a very business-like sense. But what happened was, so they got all the businesses on there and they got everybody into it. And then Facebook said, oh, hey, you want to keep having that kind of reach and everything like that? You're going to have to start paying for some ads. And now they have greatly diminished the organic reach. I mean, to the point where it's basically non-existent from a business page standpoint to do purely organic reach. You have to pay if you want to get in front of new people. So that's the thing. We have to understand that these companies, anything other than email marketing, which is something that we can control the frequency in which it gets into people's inboxes. We can control the content and all of those things. If we don't have something like that in place, then we're at the mercy and the whims of however these businesses are going to choose to do business.
I like to say, when you're looking for resources, start with people who are in that industry. You know, like if you're going to get a website, find people like us who have people who know how to speak to a couple versus just your friend who makes websites. Like find the resources, the email templates, all those things for our industry rather than trying to reinvent it when you get started, because why do it,
Well, and it's just going to make it difficult. Yeah,
or even borrowing from another industry. I mean, someone who writes blogs and even copy probably for biotech companies are not going to be, they're going to know maybe conceptually, roughly how things should go. And I'm not saying that someone who writes biotech blogs shouldn't, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had several of my copywriting clients who have come to me because they tried using a more generic copywriter, someone who would write, website copy for them, email content, those kinds of things. But it was missing the mark because those writers, as good as and as skilled as they were, it had nothing to do with their skill level. It had more to do with understanding that particular industry. And so that's what we have done, is like taking everything we're talking about today and in our business, these are all like fundamental marketing and sales tactics. I mean, a lot of people can talk about these things, but it's what we are specialized in is really making that really dialed in for wedding business owners, because that's the thing. The way that you're going to speak to your couples is going to be very different from like the examples Nick used of like a plumber or like you said, biotech or anything like that. We need to make sure that we are speaking to our couple's unique needs. And a lot of times that means going with someone who understands what those needs are.
Totally. I love that. Well, Kate and Nick, this has been incredible. This has been so much information. Like I hope at least they have a pencil, or if you're listening, pencil and paper, or if you're listening, maybe taking some notes, or if you're driving, like you go back and listen to this later, because you've given us so much actionable advice. And I think that, you've given us a lot to start with, but certainly, contacting you guys, talking to other coaches and people in the industry to kind of help give more of a customized, approach to their own business is going to be a really smart move for people. So thank you for all of this incredible advice. When people are looking to connect with you, whether it's podcast, your system, courses, anything that you guys are doing, where's the best place to get in touch with you?
Well, our website is bookmorebrides.com, and pretty much everything across every channel is Bookmore Brides. So our podcast, the Bookmore Brides podcast, Instagram, Bookmore Brides. Definitely reach out to us, or you can also email us. Like you said earlier, we practice what we preach, right? So if you reach out to us, hello@bookmorebrides.com, we would be happy to maybe give you a little bit of clarity and insight on where you're at in your business.
Yeah, on our homepage, we've got all kinds of downloads that people help all the time, but they really love the Price Shopper one. That's one right on our website. That's a good way to kind of get in our system and hear from us and learn about everything that we teach.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for the resources, for the knowledge, just for taking the time today, getting you both on here. I've really appreciated it. Again, it was great meeting you, and I know I'm going to see you again and continue to hear some of the incredible things that you guys are working on. And I'm going to be subscribed to the podcast as well. So if you guys are listening to this or watching online, go ahead and check out Kate and Nick's story. And thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.